Tua Tagovailoa, the heart and soul of the Miami Dolphins offense, has been missing in action for the past 3 games. And honestly, it's been tough. No one wants to see their QB, especially one like Tua, sidelined because of a concussion. It's one of those moments that makes you hold your breath, right? But the good news, and this is a huge sigh of relief for every Dolphins fan, is that Tua hasn't felt any lingering effects from that concussion over the last month. That's what Diana Rossini from The Athletic is saying. He's been through multiple tests, seen more specialists than we can count, and from all reports, he's feeling fine. He'd be back on the field right now if the situation allowed it. But here's where things get complicated. Even though Tua's ready to go mentally and physically, the Dolphins placed him on injured reserve right after that ugly loss to the Buffalo Bills. It was September 17th, just 5 days after the concussion, and the decision was to give him enough time to clear all the protocols properly. They weren't rushing anything, and you have to respect that. Concussions aren't something to mess with, and the Dolphins are being extra cautious. It's hard not to feel conflicted, though. You want to see him back on the field, throwing bombs, making plays, but at the same time, the long-term health of your QB has to come first. The hit that knocked him out? That was brutal. Late in the third quarter, Tua goes for a first down, and Bills safety Damar Hamlin comes charging in for the tackle. Head-first collision. Hamlin's chest, Tua's helmet, it wasn't pretty. You could tell right away something wasn't right, and seeing Tua hit the ground like that, it felt like all of Dolphins Nation collectively gasped. Then came the wait. The uncertainty. The questions about whether this was going to be another drawn-out recovery. But the team put him on IR, and that move wasn't just a formality. It was a sign that they're giving him the space he needs, time to fully recover, to not only pass the concussion protocol but also meet with outside neurologists. The NFL Network's Mike Garafolo and Ian Rappaport emphasized that the Dolphins don't want to put a timeline on Tua's return, which is tough for fans, but it's smart. Nobody wants to rush him back too soon. Not after all he's been through. Let's not forget, this isn't Tua's first rodeo with concussions. We've seen it before, most notably in 2022. There was that scary moment against the Cincinnati Bengals, and another one versus the Green Bay Packers later that same year. But even before that, remember September 2022? Another hit, another game against the Bills, and another time when Tua looked off. Linebacker Matt Milano got to him, and it was one of those hits where Tua just didn't seem right afterward. He was stumbling, clearly disoriented. But he still came back into the game. Looking back, we all know now it was probably a mistake, and while they chalked it up to a back injury, it's hard not to wonder if that was truly the case. Injuries and Tua, unfortunately, have been intertwined since even before he came to Miami. His hip injury back in 2019 was brutal, and then you had the fractured ribs in 2021, also against the Bills. It feels like every time Tua starts building momentum, there's some kind of physical setback. But that hasn't stopped him. This guy's a fighter, and he's proven it. Just look at what he's done over the last 2 seasons. He led the league in quarterback rating in 2022 with a ridiculous 105.5, and he was throwing the ball like crazy, averaging nearly 9 yards per attempt. Then in 2023, he topped it off with over 4,600 passing yards. Tua has been a huge reason why Miami made back-to-back playoff appearances, something we haven't seen since the late 90s, early 2000s. That's special. That's something fans should never take for granted. Now, Tua's eligible to come off IR after this Sunday's game against the Colts, but no word yet on whether he'll be back in action. It's a waiting game, and Dolphins fans are anxious. Tyler Huntley's likely going to get another start as Miami looks to even their record at 3-3. But let's be real, everyone's just counting the days until Tua's back under center, leading this team like we all know he can.